At site B. So we got, if you look here, sorry about all the rain stuff, that's our part number for that casting, and it matches exactly this casting. So 245-75456, 245-75456. But I want you to notice something. They did the porting work we said on this, on the other one. So here's what the exhaust manifold's supposed to look like. And here's what it does look like. So this is a 95 head. You can actually see up there, 95. And we found out with this head, that head's from a 94, or was at least made in 94, 495. This is, so I got to get a new exhaust manifold, which is fine because the older ones are weirdly more high flow. But that's interesting. So this is a little easier. You can see we're at site B. You can see we're getting the cams back on. We got the head back on. It's a little bit noisier out here because we're just under a car cover. We did some work yesterday under the rain. I'll show you a brief moment of that here in a second. But we're just getting everything put back together. I want to show you this. So I had some Craftsman torque wrenches. This is saying that those are out of spec. My Craftsman wrenches are old, so that's very likely. So this is fairly cheap from Amazon of all places. I forget what it's called, but it seems to be working fairly well. It's that. We're using the stuff that came with our car to just put down the torque specs came with the motor, or with the top of the motor. So we got everything back in. We got compression. Of course, my compression tester not working. So that's great. I don't know exactly why, but it's all the air is leaking up by these O-rings. It probably needs new O-rings or new Schrader valve. So everything's torqued how it's supposed to be torqued. So we're just going to assume we did the old finger and the hole trick. It seems to have compression. So fingers crossed. Battery's charging. We're going to take out the AC compressor since we're doing all this engine work anyway. And we have a AC compressor delete down there. So it's Maryland. It does get super hot and super humid, but race car, kind of. So yeah. Hopefully next I see you, we have everything put back together. So, that's not great pressure. It just read a little bit over 90, which isn't ideal. But I think it's the O-rings on this fuel rail here. We're gonna find different bolts and try and hold it down, and maybe that'll make a difference. But we just compression tested that, and we got some decent results. So now we're gonna move down to the next one and see what we got. We just checked all the cylinders. They're all reading about 240 now. We're gonna let this oil sink in, collect, and do what it needs to do. We're not gonna try and run this for a day or two. All right, we're back at site A, and I'm back to being hydrated. So that's a lot better than what we were reading before on the compression. So that's cylinder 1 or 4. It's kind of confusing with the way this is in the car. So, because you would normally be looking at it facing this way, but now we're facing from this way. So I think that's 4 technically. So we're reading about 160, 170, which is a lot more in line than when we were up here into 240. So we'll go ahead and we'll read all of these. And if we're getting a good reading, we'll throw the spark plugs back in, and we'll see if we can get any start out of this. We got a little bit of compression. It ran ever so slightly by itself. I think the throttle was set too low. We spewed a lot of oil out. We burned a lot of it off, but that's good. So we're gonna wait for this to charge up some more. I don't think it ran long enough to get itself charged up. 13.3 volts down to 12.62 volts. The battery tender is still saying it needs to be charged, but positive. It ran on its own for a little while. So that's a big plus. So we have this stuff in there. I don't know if I pointed this out. Engine restore. So we're gonna hope that that helps with our compression issues. Nothing hit, nothing was an issue. You can still see the smoke coming out. So we're gonna wait, see. We'll let this thing charge up fully and then we'll give it a shot. So it was running. It wasn't running very well. Whoops. I'll explain what that was in a second. The motor is mostly put back together. We got some detail stuff we got to do on it. We still got to drain the coolant. It's a big one. Since we got the new manifold, we got to go get a new manifold sensor and we got to get a clamp. Because what we're planning on doing here, as you can see, we got the new manifold with the higher flow. That to dry, which is why we're down here, hoping that that becomes airtight with the new gasket and the new RVT. RVT means room temperature vulcanization. That's just something I can never unlearn, and now you can never unlearn. So I'll show you this in a second. It's hard to do with one hand. The exhaust is going to work like this. You see the header up there? It's coming down to right here. And then we're probably just going to throw some pipes, some 45s, and just throw this straight up the back here. That's the plan. We're kind of just mocking it in place. Hopefully it stays. It comes basically straight off the collector. This is the higher flowing manifold. It goes into the exhaust there. Focus. And I think it'll make a nice aggressive sound. So we're just waiting to get the parts here. We'll put the gasket on and then we'll bolt this up and see how it sounds when we get this thing back up started. Project worked out great. Comes out, we can run some pipes out of there. That thing's on there super tight. It's kind of hard to show you with the camera in my hand, but I guess I could use my other hand. Yeah, if you come in, I mean, that's moving the whole car. So that's on nice and tight. Unfortunately, it's still sputtering and not working. So we pulled out so far 3 spark plugs. So we got 2 here. It's kind of hard to tell, but they're very covered in soot, which there was a ton of oil down there, but this one's running just about perfect. So let's pull out that third one, because if the third one looks like that, I think we know where our piston ring problem is. I really don't want to have to pull the piston rings out of here to redo them, but it's not the head. It's not the timing. It's got to be the rings. So we'll give the timing another check when we pull out the spark plugs and test compression again, but we should be good, but I don't know why it's not. If this thing will focus, the issue, this is the second one from the front, so that'd be the number 2 cylinder. The oil makes sense because we put the oil, we poured it in through the top on the pistons itself. So we got 2 pistons running, going clean, or maybe not burning at all, and then we have 2 that are rather sooty. They shouldn't be this sooty from, you know, not even a couple miles of running. So I don't know, maybe it is a timing issue. We'll pull off the timing cover here in a minute after we do a compression check, because I don't know. I'm hoping it's a timing issue because that's a lot easier to deal with than pulling out the piston rings and putting in the new piston rings. But because that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. So fingers crossed, maybe it's just out of time ever so slightly. So let's see. Mercifully, I think we found our issue. So this keyway down here, it's kind of hard to tell on video. Focus, down here, that's where we want you. So this keyway here is supposed to be completely vertical. It's probably closer to the 12:30, 1 o'clock location. This is top dead center for this camshaft. So we're off our timing. So this is top dead center later than it should be. Or this is operating later than it should be, which means this one probably is too. Let me get another stud and see. Hey, so we reset the timing. So as you can see down there, that keyway is facing up. We rotated this twice, and look, oh, it goes in and out like butter. That's not suggestive at all. Oh, look at it go. Remember, always wear your rubbers. Oh, look at that. So it went around twice. We're in full tension. The tensioner down there is fully locked. I don't see anything spinning, anything looking like it's going to come loose. It helps if I point the camera where I'm looking. So I don't see anything looking loose. So that's good. So hopefully now it'll run a bit better. We shall see. We got to put the cover plate back on to do that. Which that'll take a hot minute because there's a million screws. And then we got to put the harmonic balancer back on, just because I don't want this thing shaking itself to death. But that's good. Right, cylinder 120. Or the cylinder closest to the passenger side, 120. I think that's technically 4. Cylinder 2. That's not good. Cylinder 3, a little bit over 120. So that's good. And cylinder 4. So, one cylinder, low on power. Let's try it again. See what we get. All right, so we tried all our shade tree tricks on compression. I don't know where I left you off. This has been like a month-long adventure. This cylinder is still the low cylinder. We've tried the engine restore. We tried the Marvel Mystery Oil. It's still running low. So should have gone where we should have gone first place. We're gonna do piston rings. So we're taking apart the motor again, and that looks good. Oh no. So we definitely had a little bit of some impact in these cylinders from on 2 and 4 here on the from the valves. So that's not good. But if we come and we look at the valve, it looks like the valve is stronger than the piston was. And there doesn't appear to be any damage going on up here on these two. We checked all 4. You know, not ideal, but everything's sitting the same on all cylinders. So we'll have to double check our timing, but hopefully that just self-clearance. But now that we have the whole top end of this taken apart for the 3rd time, we're gonna pull out the cylinders. We're just gonna go ahead, and if we can get to all of them, we're gonna get to all of them. This front one might be the hardest one to get to, so we might not F with that one. But those 3 there, we definitely need to mess with. So it's late in the evening. We dropped the oil pan, so we can see the internals of the car now. You can see up there, we have access to the crankshaft. I think we can get to all the stuff we need to get to, hopefully. So this is a 95. I have my doubts because this little contraption here proves it's a 95 though, because this is the first year this is a counter weight to the motor up here. I would like to be able to delete it, but unfortunately I can't because it is the oil pickup as well. So that is unfortunate. So we're gonna have to work around this because of the way it's in the car. You can see down there, it's kind of pinned in on that side. It's gonna make working on this a lot more difficult. I'll mess around with it for a few minutes before I head off to sleepy time, just to try and see if I can't drop the oil pan completely off, because that will make it a little easier to get up there, but I don't know if I can. All right, one more thing before we go. So we put the piston rings on. Everything fits in there here just fine. That's what it is. So here's something interesting. That's a bearing. It goes in here. You can tell, you know, it's supposed to be in there. It's supposed to have a little bit of overlap. And obviously a lot of miles on this motor. That's not good. You know, that is normal wear and tear, I guess. The bottom one looks fine. But I can't tell if that's actually in there or if that's, you know, we're looking at fairly low light. Looking in here. It looks like this bearing's in here and it's fine. So what the heck happened here? I wonder. It's a little chowdered up. I wonder if my removal system, if I hit there and that caused an issue. I think that's what happened. So that's good. That's not really good. So we're going to have to order some new connecting rod ends because only one of those came out, so you got to do them in pairs. I don't think there's one in here. This is the exact same surface, and we're looking at, you know, similar diameter. These things, they're not too, they don't really want to go on there easily with the way they're put together. So this is interesting. I don't know. We'll see. So I got the pistons out, or the piston, the biggest offending piston out. It looks good. We got the we put the new springs and everything in. I have to play around with that some more. This doesn't really want to stay down exactly like it's supposed to. Things keep trying to pop out, but you know, just kind of need to force it in there and get these. With the way this is set up with the gap here, the instructions are saying not to leave a lot of gap between these, so you kind of have to bend these piston rings in the oiler. I don't know if you can see that, where I just lost it. So like right here, that gap there, you're supposed to kind of bend it and make sure they're touching according to the instructions. And who am I to not listen to instructions? A man who's been burned one too many times by not listening to instructions. Anyway, that's not the interesting thing. The interesting thing is we went to put this back in just to test fit all the rings. Seemed to do well. And then this dropped out of up here. So it's like, oh, okay, you know, I need to get new connecting rods, bearings. I figured I might have to do that. But only one side fell out. And as you can see, there's no bearing in here. So I don't know how well you can see that. So there is no bearing in here to take out. And only one side of the bearing fell out. So where, oh where, is my other bearing? It's not down there. We already looked inside the oil pan and everything. Those are chowders, so we're gonna have to get new ones. We got nothing down in here, so I don't know where. Sorry about that. I don't know where that went. That's not good. Yeah. Oh well. Hey, look what we found. We found the other side of the rod bearing. So these things are quite, as the British would say, knackered. So it's now daylight out because this is how long this takes. I'm slowly going insane. Bearing cap number 1. Bearing cap number 2. These things are, so at least we got them out so we know where they go. Like literally everything on here is busted. So it is very possible that we spun a bearing in there too. That might be why the piston was like seizing up in there. So we're going to I don't know. I feel like I should soak this in some oil, but I don't want to inundate it with it too, because you can see the carbon built up underneath. So since it's in the daylight, we'll take a look at our piston rings. These things don't look bad. I don't know what I'm looking at. I'll show you the other one, but I literally have no idea what I'm looking at. The cheat, anyone? Let's see here. I mean, I don't see really any burn spots or anything that looks too bad. It just looks like a piston ring. For real this time. End of show. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go get some bearing caps at the local auto parts store. They had them in stock, I guess. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do it. I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to wear better gloves than these. And I'm going to not go inside because I think they have curbside pickup and all that crap. So just be safe, everyone. Let's make this through this. You know, it's a good time to work on the car. I mean, that's all I've been doing.